Good evening. Welcome to Boychoir Banter. My name is Jason Alexander Holmes, and I have the lovely job of being the artistic director of the Cincinnati Boychoir. I'm here with Dan Reynolds from Brave Berlin, and we'll talk about what Brave Berlin is and kind of what they do and how we are connected, especially for this fall 2020 season.
Yeah.
So feel free to check out some more Boychoir Banter videos. There are a bunch of them on YouTube. We have everything from what is musicology, studying music in college, a composer's perspective and a performer's life. And then last week, we featured our Boychoir staff. So you can find that video. It's called Boychoir Banter Staff Edition. You can find that on Facebook and on YouTube. So what do we do with Boychoir Banter? We do our best to talk about those things that we want to talk about during rehearsal, but don't always have time to really dive deep in. And we also bring in awesome guests who are doing great work like Dan and Brave Berlin. It's important to know that we want this to be an interactive conversation, so you can use the comments on Facebook and on YouTube and shoot us any questions that you might have. And so thank you for watching. With that, Dan, are you ready? We'll jump right in.
I am ready. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So let's just start with Brave Berlin. Like, what is it? How did it start? How are you involved? Tell us all the things about Brave Berlin.
So first off, I should say I'm very sorry to report my business partner Steve McGowan is not here with me. Brave Berlin is really the two of us. I mean, Steve McGowan is my business partner. We started Brave Berlin 7 years ago in October of 2013. We have worked together for 25 years, but 7 years ago, just on the riding the wave of the first Luminosity, which we did at our last job together. We used to both work at Landor Associates, and while we were at Landor, we did the first Luminosity, and that was just too close to home for us. It hit home with our love of the arts. Steve's background is in theater, mine is in filmmaking, and Luminosity just kind of gave us some courage to just go and fly and be on our own and get reconnected with the arts. So we started Brave Berlin in 2013, and we went on to do 2 more years of Luminosity, and we've now done 2 years of BLINK. After the Luminosity in 2015, we jumped in and started developing BLINK. It became BLINK in 2017. It took a couple years to bake. There's a lot of stories there. And we do all kinds of work. We consider ourselves artists first and foremost. We're kind of media artists. When people think of us, they think of projection shows and light shows, but we design events, we produce events, and then everything that comes with that. So there's a lot of media design, there's motion graphics, there's animation, there's graphic design, there's interior design, there's planning and production and writing and all of the above. And we've stayed connected. Some of our other kind of big clients are Procter & Gamble, who we do a lot of work with. We've done work with Pepsi and with Ford Motor Company, which has been really fun. And we're now cooking a new show that's going to play hopefully in Toronto early next year. So we keep busy.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
I know I just moved to Cincinnati a little over a year ago. And when I moved here, even before I moved here, everybody was talking about BLINK. You got to see BLINK. BLINK was this amazing thing. And then, some folks who had a little bit of background knowledge were saying, well, it was born out of Luminosity. So, and you talked a little bit about this, but tell us more about how those projects came to be. And for people who aren't in Cincinnati, what are they?
Yeah. So Luminosity really kind of started this whole thing. So Luminosity, it's actually a wonderful story. So our dear friend Tim Maloney of the Hale Foundation gave me a call sometime in late 2011. He was on a committee he was on the board of Music Hall, and he was on a committee trying to figure out a creative way to welcome their new music director, Louis Longray. And Tim had just recently been to Europe and had seen some projection mappings on buildings, which is, the art form's not really that brand new. It's been around in Europe for quite a while, but We had done it here in town, kind of in a smaller level. When we were at Landor, Steve and I did a couple little kind of experimentations with it. I've ran media departments both for Landor and then before that for FRCH for years. So projection in media and motion design and all that's kind of my forte and what I love. So Tim Maloney called. He introduced himself. He said, "I'm Tim Maloney of the Hale Foundation. I want to project on Music Hall, and I heard you're the guy to talk to." And I said, "Absolutely, yes, I am." And it's funny because it's one of those moments where whatever I didn't know at the time, I knew I would figure it out. So the way you handle that question is you say yes. And so that changed the trajectory of my career, Steve's career, and everything. So we went on and we developed Luminosity, which was a 48-minute projection light show done in conjunction with a live performance from the CSO on the lawn of Washington Park, right in front of Music Hall. The first year was in 2013, and it was like a 48-minute show. It was really unique in that it was done to a live performance. So we developed all of the animations using recordings of the music that we thought we would be doing, but then they play it live the night of the show. So tempos can change slightly or things can be a little different. So we had to invent this whole playback process that would allow us to speed up or slow down the animations. And we had cue points that would allow us to jump in and kind of get back in sync. And we kind of invented this whole new thing. I mean, like I said, projection mapping's been around a while, but I don't think anyone had quite done what we did with regards to marrying it with a live performance from a live symphony, a world-class symphony orchestra. So that was super exciting. It exceeded all of our expectations. I mean, we were hoping to get 8,000 people, and we ended up getting like 48,000 people over the course of 3 days, over the weekend. And then almost as soon as it was over, people were talking about, will it return next year? And so we did it for another 2 years. And then we can talk more about this, and then when we went off to develop BLINK, the CSO did it again with another group here in town called Lightborn. They did another iteration of Luminosity, one more year in 2016 while we were developing BLINK. So, and then we started developing BLINK. Yeah, I feel like I'm talking and talking.
No, it's fascinating. We just kind of want to hear you keep talking about it. And I feel like I have kind of a unique perspective as someone who's just moved to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that because, when you move to a new city, you want to know, like, okay, what's the deal here? Like, what do people get excited about? And I can tell you that was what folks were talking about when I moved here. One of our board members showed me around town on the streetcar, and when we got to Music Hall, first of all, my jaw dropped because it's Music Hall and it's beautiful. And that whole area is just gorgeous. And then she said, and you wouldn't believe what they did with this building during Luminosity. So it's a thing. And people are...
That's really kind of what was the impetus of doing BLINK. So it was actually kind of funny because we were literally 20 minutes. So in 2015, so this is the third Luminosity, we're up in the projection booth doing all this tech preparation and getting ready for the first show. And Tim Maloney comes up in the booth and he goes, "So what are we going to do next?" And I'm just looking at him like, "Tim, let me get through this show and then we'll talk about next." But the funny thing is we kind of knew that after 3 years that it was time to move on. And how do we answer the call of, clearly people loved it and fell in love with it. So literally just days after the final performance of Luminosity, we met Tim at the offices of People's Liberty up in Findlay Market. And we sat at a table and he goes, "Look, what's next? We got to do something. What's the answer to, we're not going to do Luminosity." We knew we couldn't do the same show in 2016 because Music Hall had gone under renovation. So there was no chance of us doing it again there. And Steve and I had kind of been talking, they say always have a good idea in your back pockets in case anyone says what's next. Always have one ready, especially when you're talking to people like Tim Maloney. Tim said, "So what's next?" And like, well, Tim, you know, people seem to love this idea of projection, architectural projection mapping. And they're like, if we didn't have to do it with a symphony, which was a wonderful thing, and hopefully we'll do it again someday, but if we could take that art form away from that, we could do smaller chunks of it all throughout the city. And Tim said, I love it. And at the same time, we had our friends at Agar who were developing, they were coming to Tim and talking about doing a street art festival. So kind of that was inspired by Wynwood Walls in Miami and the Shoreditch neighborhood of London, where they invite all these mural artists to come into a part of the city, and they give them walls to do these murals. And these are world-class, like rock and roll star level artists who attract people. And you know, the vision of that was, listen, if we can get these murals going in the Findlay Market region, we can bring people to that region. It becomes kind of a tourist destination. So Tim had the bright idea of, well, great, why don't we combine those ideas? Let's combine BLINK and the street art festival and pull it all together. And so we needed one more partner to kind of fill out the stool. We had a 3-legged stool. We wanted a 4-legged stool. And so we were like, okay, this is getting big now, and it's sounding like something that's going to take over the whole city. We really needed our partners at Artworks to come in, who we had done work with on Ink Your Love and several other projects going back to our days at Landor. Tamara Harkavy was running Artworks, and we needed her bench strength in how to work with the entire city. Tamara has this super big, you know, years and years of working with all the students in the area and doing community outreach. She uses all these teams of people who paint the murals that Artworks is known for. And so Artworks came in and took on kind of the curatorial part of all the street level activations that happened within BLINK, what became BLINK. And so this was really late 2015, and then sometime later in 2016, we found our partners in the Cincinnati Regional Chamber, who we kind of hired. We tell people we hired them to be our boss. We needed a grown-up in the room. So we had 3 creative agencies in us, Agar, and Artworks, and we needed an adult. So we hired the Regional Chamber to kind of take over the managerial role and kind of keep us all in check and help us deal with the city and the police and the fire and safety and all the million other little details. And they just knocked that out of the park. And one by one, things fell in line. In 2017, BLINK happened, and it turned out to be the biggest event in the city's history. We estimated over 1 million people came, and it was beautiful and brilliant, and just we had 0 police incidents and just little details like that, and it all went out without a hitch. And it was just this gorgeous reminder of the power of art in to unify people in these times that really just do everything they can to tear us apart. BLINK really felt like a moment of unification for all of us, and it was for everyone, and it didn't matter what you believed in with regards to the things that divide us. When you're standing there looking at a piece of art next to somebody, it has a way of pulling you together. So it was very good. It was a great experience. And then we immediately got busy on developing BLINK 2019, which we expanded into Covington across the river. We always wanted it to feel more regional and inclusive of the entire area. So we went 8 blocks up into Covington and included that whole great little neighborhood over there, and went a little bit further up north past Findlay, and just got bigger and better and broke our record of attendance, and really, really good. So
that's amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
I really love it when those things happen in the arts, and when we're kind of intentional about, we want this to be about bringing our community together and celebrating our community, our city. That's amazing.
Well, and I have to mention, I'm sorry, both Luminosity and BLINK, I mean, Braberlin gets all the glory for this. We get thanked for it a million times, and I love it. I do. I admit it. It's my weakness. Both of those events were 1,000 people doing the best work of their career. We had the best artists who participated. The city just came alive with the moment we posted openings and posted openings for artists to submit concepts. We were overwhelmed with the response. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of local artists for BLINK submitted work, and we could, of course, had to whittle that down. And then we had national and international artists. So both of those events are the product of an awful lot of people really bringing their A game and doing the best work of their career. So
that's amazing.
We get to be the orchestrators of it all.
Awesome.
A big sandbox, and we get to play in it.
Exactly. I love it. There's a question coming in from my mom, actually, who says, how can people see Luminosity or BLINK? I mean, is there a way that it was kind of documented or recorded?
Yeah, go to YouTube and type in, don't just type in BLINK, type in BLINK Cincinnati. There's a million videos. Some of my favorites are the homemade ones, people just fans who kind of shared their best. There's lots and lots. I mean, you can get lost down that rabbit hole and go all day. For Luminosity, same thing. Actually, the CSO did a very good job of documenting Luminosity. Now that's Luminosity with a C, C-I-T-Y. And do that as well. Type in Luminosity Cincinnati. And there's all kinds of really good. Actually, I think all 3 years, if you really look, you can see each piece just completely with a locked off camera. They documented the performance from the CSO, the music, and the projection without any cuts. It's all on YouTube, and it's there to see. And they're really, really great to go back and visit. So
great. I'll have to do that too. So I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm new to Cincinnati, so I'll do that. And it looks like Katie has put in our comments here a link to Luminosity from 2013. So, and that's right there on YouTube, folks, that you can find after, of course, you finish watching this Boychoir Banter session.
There was also, I should say, in 2014, I believe. Yeah, 2014 Luminosity. CET produced a documentary about the making of it. And it was an Emmy Award-winning documentary. They ended up winning. That full documentary, I believe it's called Behind the Magic, Luminosity Behind the Magic or Behind the Light or something. It's on YouTube somewhere. Look it up. It's from CET, and it's really great. It's I think, almost an hour long, and really goes in depth and shows a lot of behind the scenes of how the work, kind of shows us collaborating with the CSO and the team that we used, and how us working to put the visuals together. It's really interesting.
Awesome. And that's a great segue into talking about Journey Borealis at Pyramid Hill and the Cincinnati Boychoir, kind of how we're working together to make that happen in terms of visuals and music. So let's just start with Journey Borealis at Pyramid Hill. Kind of what is it? And we'll start there.
So, well, Journey Borealis is actually a new name. So Pyramid Hill has been doing a holiday light show, a drive-through experience for, I think, like 17 or 18 years now. And it's very popular. Every year, whenever those shows come out, there's the one at the zoo, and there's a new one, I think, over at Old Coney. The Cincinnati Magazine or somebody does you can always find reviews of the best shows. And year after year, Pyramid Hill is producing this amazing show, this drive-through holiday experience. And it really is very different because it's, for one, it's in a sculpture park, which is in and of itself, if they didn't turn any lights on, you've got it's an amazing place to visit year round.
And I'll just have to put a plug in for Pyramid Hill Sculpture Park.
Yeah.
If you're in Cincinnati or in the region, go see it. I mean, it's a wonder, especially now when we're trying to be outside and distanced. It's the perfect way to kind of experience, to have that art museum experience, but be outside and see some really cool pieces.
And they're open every day. You go there and they have these things called art cars, which are like little golf carts you can get in, and you can really get up and close with some of these amazing sculptures. And the grounds are beautiful. and it's just gigantic. It's kind of up near Hamilton in Ross, Ohio. It's a bit of a drive, but it's actually a beautiful drive, and I encourage you, if you do go up there, check out the little city of Hamilton, which is beautiful. Anyway, 2 years ago, I guess 2018, we got a call from Pyramid Hill, and they were just big fans of Luminosity and Blink. Nancy Lonnie, whose father started Pyramid Hill, she gave us a call, and she loved our work and was just kind of a big fan of the idea of projection mapping. And she just asked if we would be interested in contributing something to their holiday show. And I think initially she wanted us to really look at the entire show and maybe contribute some creative direction to it. But we just couldn't take that on because we hadn't even seen the show ourselves at that point. So we said, let us jump in. We'll take one little bit of it. And so what we did is we did right in the middle of Pyramid Hill, right in the middle of the route of the show, is this kind of indoor-outdoor pavilion, which was perfect because it provides cover, but it's still open air. And so that meant we could hide some technology in there. And we did a 13 projector rear screen projection show that happened right in the middle of the drive-through experience. So it was kind of fun, and it was an experimentation, right? The first year. And I think it was a big hit. The fans loved it. The cars that came through, all the feedback was really beautiful and positive. So we did it again last year in 2019. We did a different thing this time. We learned a lot the first year. So the wind up there was just tearing our screens apart. So we said, let's turn the show around. Let's invert it. So what we did is we built ourselves kind of our own structure, our own little sculpture that we erected in the middle of this pavilion, and then we projected all 13 of those projectors on that. So it was more of a projection mapped experience onto a sculpture. And then they asked, okay, let's blow this out. Now we're ready. After 2 years of this, how can we make it bigger, involve more artists, so more than just Brave Berlin? How can the model of Blink was Brave Berlin. We certainly participate as artists, both for Blink and this, but we also invite all these other artists in and let them kind of play in the sand, right? So the vision for Journey Borealis was born kind of late last year, late in 2019, with the idea of let's do an outreach and invite other artists. Unfortunately, getting something like that off the ground takes a lot of work. But what did stick is we rebranded it. We rebranded the show to Journey Borealis, and we gave it a narrative that my partner Steve has really spent a lot of time kind of cooking this new show. It's going to be an all-new show with all new effects and all new things. And most important, we're introducing audio this year. And what better way to do that than with our collaboration with the Cincinnati Boychoir, which, by the way, was another great introduction from our friend Tim Maloney, who's a fan of you guys and a longtime supporter of us. And he has this way of playing matchmaker. And he just knew, I mean, here we are in this crazy year of 2020, and he knew that there's things that are better together. And he knew we wanted to kind of do bigger and kind of blow the show out and do some new things. And we knew part of that would probably involve audio. And you and Katie there at the Boychoir kind of latched on to Tim and made the ask, and he said, absolutely. And I think he played matchmaker between us. And like a week later, Jason, we were on the call and started talking about how we can collaborate in this most unusual year, more unusual for you than I think for us.
For sure.
And so we're now in the midst of working that out and figuring out how that collaboration is going to work.
Yeah, and it's, I keep telling people, I've told Sean, who's the executive director at Pyramid Hill, and I think I've shared with you and Steve, like, you guys are really lifesavers for us this year in terms of having a big, exciting event to work towards. Normally it would be our holiday concert at the Aeronov, which we love to do, but it's just not feasible this year. So this is a really, and it's also a way to kind of push us outside of our box of doing, stand and sing choral performances. So we're flexing some new muscles and learning some new skills. So we just had our first rehearsal last night, and there's great energy. There was great energy in the Zoom room about kind of our work together. So let's chat a little bit about how we'll be involved in the Journey Borealis. Yeah.
So I'd love to show you some visuals if I can share my screen here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me pull up. So let me pull this up. Okay, so this is just a bit of our concept presentation that we made to Sean up at Pyramid Hill when we were trying to explain to him some of what the visuals will look like. So what we created this thing when we rebranded it. The park itself is north of our city. It lives on the north part of where we all live. And so, you combine north with lights, northern lights, which is where the name Borealis came from, Journey Borealis. And then the show, really, one of the things that differentiates it from some of the other holiday shows in town is it really is this journey. So that you drive your car through this 2.5-mile path up and down over these kind of rolling hills, and they're wooded, and there's all kinds of landscape. There's ponds, there's sculptures everywhere. And so we begin to start to visualize what we can do. And of course, there's all the usual holiday lights galore, right? There's all the bee lights and all the traditional things that you would expect from a holiday light show. And they do that in spades. They do it really, really well. What we wanted to do was augment the show from a light perspective. We wanted to do something a little bit different. So we're going to play with materiality and projecting light, not just video projection, but also just projected light and using reflective surfaces. You'll see that image there on the left, the one with the faces. This was kind of the first vision of what we thought we could do with some video of the actual boy choir. If we can work in kind of a video shoot that we're hoping to do of the boys that are singing. By the way, these are original arrangements. The music is not original. The music is something that we kind of purchased from other composers, but the arrangements of the boy choir pieces within the musical pieces is all new, and that's being put together by our composer Daniel Nail, who's a CCM graduate here in town. We've been working with him for the last couple of weeks. He's been kind of writing these melodies for the boy choirs to sing over top of these music beds. And I'll just kind of go through this a little bit. You see these projected faces. This is kind of these notion. These projections are just, and these, pardon me, these are just kind of, we grabbed images from wherever we could. So these look a little bit more macabre than I think our original and our end product. But just,
we could do a Halloween light show. Why not?
Yeah. But imagine these being faces of the boys actually singing these parts that you're actually hearing. And so that's what we want to do. We kind of want to weave these sort of kind of ghostly figures throughout, and we're kind of creating the whole concept of the show is to kind of create this magical journey that you're on, and it's to the North Pole. And so we're going to be doing things like, we want to get back to we like a lot of low tech. We're kind of known for our high tech kind of video mapping and that kind of thing, but we're just in love with light. And we think some of the most amazing things are really low tech. So even just some of this gobo imagery and projecting it down onto the surface and uplighting the trees, and how do you feature the sculptures that are there in a unique way? How do you play with, in this particular slide, this is just day glow paint. What happens when you just do black light things like this? So these are some of the visuals. How do we repurpose some of the Christmas, the kind of more traditional Christmas lights and create these little moments along the way, like these little Christmas tree paths and things like that. And, take all the white lights, instead of spreading them out over 2.5 miles, just totally wrap them all around one little clump of trees and do things like that. So all of this is kind of just inspired imagery. And imagine as you're driving through this experience, you're going to be hearing the voices of the boy choir kind of taking you through it. We've actually written, I'm going to I'm going to exit back out here. We've actually collaborated with Daniel to create. He's created 6 different unique pieces of music. So the one we're calling the Journey Borealis theme, which is what you'll be greeted with as you drive in the entryway, and then you, of course, you get it again at the end. But then we have 6 different themes. So as you drive through the different areas of the experience, you're greeted with a completely different repertoire of music. And it's really interesting because I'm working with you, Jason, and talking with Daniel. The direction was, how do we feature the boy choir in a unique way? I mean, and like our arranger Daniel had to learn what your boys were capable of, right? And what are the notes that they can reach, and do you have soloists that you need to kind of feature, and are there different levels? And so, and by the way, all of that conversation quickly got out of my out of Steve's. That's why we hire you and work with you, and you and Daniel kind of make that magic. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, is to hire everyone to do what they do best and then make magic from there. Yeah.
Well, that's really exciting for us also because, you know, a boy choir is a really kind of unique ensemble in the timbre, the quality of the sound. And then when we have mixed voices, like changed and unchanged voices together, the ranges are really interesting. And I'm just going to geek out for a minute here, but they are interesting. So anytime we can have music that's composed specifically for us, anytime that I can say to a composer, hey, this is what I have this year, because, oh, by the way, at the end of the spring, it was kind of different. And, you know, now some voices have changed, some voices changed in a way that was different than I was expecting.
Right.
So it was so great to be able to say to Daniel, this is what we have. We have, you know, a bunch of these kinds of singers, and can you write something to fit that? And I have to say that he did that so well.
Yeah.
So we're really, really excited and feel really privileged to
well, and I think he's a super accomplished musician and a composer, graduate of CCM. I think he's pursued his master's degree down at U of L, just absolutely in love with music in all forms. But it was funny, even coming to this, which he did wholeheartedly and completely passionately, just saw the opportunity that it was. I could tell that he was not super familiar with choir music and was kind of trepidatious a little bit about writing parts that he didn't know what you could do. And then after he kind of talked to you, Jason, and had a little bit more of an understanding of what the capabilities were, and I think you gave him permission to, oh no, push it a little further, you know, that's when he really got excited. And I think he went back to the drawing board and actually wrote harmonies and things that he didn't even attempt the first time. So, and which is so exciting, right? That's what's fun about it is, and here we are, you know, we're now we're at the end of September, but when we started that conversation, it was toward the beginning of September, and you try to get ahead of it. It sounds like there's tons of time because the show's not till November, but oh no. Right. Every single day on the calendar between here and there. And so we're super excited to see where that goes. And in the meantime, we're doing things like researching speakers and how we're going to put them out and where they're going to be placed and how people experience the music. And, you know, so how you can move from one soundscape and let that fade before you get to the next one, so they're not on top of each other. And, you know, there's a lot of technical kind of executional things that make this show pretty awesome as well. And this year more than ever. So.
Yeah. I think we have a question coming in from the audience about CCO. What can you tell us about the chamber orchestra and how they're participating?
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I hadn't mentioned the CCO. So Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra was also another arts organization that kind of heard about the show. They had conversations with Sean Fitzgibbons up at Pyramid Hill. Really, really wanted to contribute to the show. We kind of got put together a little too late to compose something original, but the good news is the CCO has this long, rich kind of library of recorded music that they very graciously offered up and said, hey, we want to be part of the show. We want to be part of this soundscape and be heard along with the boy choir. So we are doing that. We are going through the CCO's library and kind of picking out complementary themes and pieces of music that will appear between the spots of the 6 themes that we're doing with the boy choir. So it really will be amazing, and it'll be kind of a true tour de force of Cincinnati music, right? Featuring both the CCO and the boy choir. And same thing, like I feel terrible for not mentioning them right up front, because again, these are groups that come to these opportunities just super happy and eager and wanting to be involved, and CCO was certainly that. I should also mention, while I'm at it, there's a group at Miami University. Miami University has a media production group. They reached out to me last year, wanting to get their students involved. It was too late to get them involved last year, but this year we've already talked to them, and so we're hoping to get those students involved, and several other little kind of artists here and there that'll be kind of jumping in and contributing.
This is amazing. It kind of goes back to that community that you were talking about, like with Luminosity and BLINK.
All together, right? And
yeah,
I got to tell you, I don't know that how many people realize this. I hope they got a better sense of it now, but we have way more than our fair share of performing arts, visual arts organizations in this city. For a city our size, you go to another city our size, St. Louis, Kansas City, Cleveland, and Cleveland has a great visual arts scene, but no other city, Atlanta, Miami, they don't have the arts the way that we do. They do not have a world-class orchestra that's been around for 150 years. They don't have a ballet, an opera, a boy choir, a chamber orchestra, a May festival chorus, an art museum, a contemporary art museum. All of these things are insanely great to have in our city. And if you've lived here your whole life, you can maybe take it for granted. I mean, we're a big sports town. We're awful proud of our Reds and our Bengals. And I think we think of ourselves as a sports town first and foremost. But one of the things that was so important for us when we did Luminosity and when we did BLINK, and now continuing on with Pyramid Hill and Journey Borealis, is, hey, we're not just a sports town, we're an art town. And the crowds that come to these shows are proof that people want this. They want this in their lives. There's a place for this. You can be the biggest baseball fan in the world and you still love art, and you still want to come out and see something that's culturally enriching. And we have way more than our fair share of that in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it feels really, one of the things that I really want to do at the Boy Choir is be sure that we are an organization where boys can come to us and just kind of be themselves, all of who they are. Like you said, you can love baseball and, sail up to a high C, and that can exist in the same person.
Yeah.
And it does exist in the same person.
It absolutely does. And in fact, I mentioned the Reds, and we've done work for the Reds.
Yeah.
The Reds were big fans of our work, our projection work. So we, a couple years ago, when they redesigned their Scouts Club down in the bowels of the stadium in the good seats, they asked us if we would do a big projection mural in there. So there's a permanent projection mural over there that we did. So we love our sports. We love all of that. It feeds into the culture of our city. It makes us who we are. But we're a super, super rich city, and I think we're being discovered year by year. We keep appearing on top 10 lists of places to visit, places to live. We've been called out and mentioned in Condé Nast and the New York Times and Washington Post and Architectural Digest as one of the greatest cities to live in, and that's a big reason for it. You come here, and there's something here for everyone. And it's no matter what you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, another cool layer to that is not only do we have all of this stuff, but like we're all wanting and willing to work together to even kind of magnify the impact that we can have artistically. So
absolutely. No one here is resting on their laurels, especially not the arts organizations. I mentioned, it's been a few years since we did work with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. But we got to be really good friends with Louis Lungray, the musical director over there. And, so I stay connected with him on social media, and him and John Morris Russell, who directs the Pops. I mean, those two, they are just crown jewels for us as a city. and they were just agonizing not being able to get together and just do what they do and make music. And just very recently, I think the CSO started getting back at a social distance. They've kind of reorganized their placement on the stage there at Music Hall, so they could just get in a room together and start practicing it again. And I saw a couple posts from Louis, and he looks like a kid on Christmas. He just looks like somebody who opened a new toy, and it just was so indicative to me from all these musical directors and artistic directors and creative directors and curators of all these arts organizations that we've had the privilege to work with. They're all that way. They all just thrive on it. They all love what they do so deeply, and they all very much want to work with each other and talk with each other, even the ones that feel like they're in competition for butts and seats. You know, we've worked with the Shakespeare Company last year. We did 1984 with them. Same way, Brian Phillips over there, the creative director, he's a great friend, and they're just dying over there to get back to work and, you know, trying their best to figure this thing out and doing these amazing things. Go over and check out the Shakespeare Theater. I think they're launching kind of this new really cool scavenger hunt thing where you go and you find these hidden little clues in our team that leads you to a little mini performance from Shakespeare that gives you clues. I mean, just the innovation that people are coming up with just to stay busy and relevant and alive and creating, and everybody's wanting to do it. So as dark as these times are, as terrible as 2020 is for all of us, you know, this is where great art comes from, these kind of challenging times, and we believe in that here wholeheartedly and try to live it and breathe it. Steve and I are back here every day. We got my son Sam works for us. The three of us have been coming back in the office and just trying to jump back in and get dirty and get work done and do creative work. So,
well, we are so honored and so excited that we get to work with you guys. When Katie told me kind of initially what was going on, I was like, wait a minute, really? The people who did Blink? Like, this is, okay, let's talk for sure. And then it's turned out to be even more exciting than we could have dreamed of at the beginning. So thank you so much for all of your creative energy. Yeah, and thank you, Katie, who you can't see right now. She's behind the scenes, kind of fielding questions and making and adding the links there to the comments. So thank you, Katie, and thank you who are watching. You can follow Cincinnati Boy Choir on all social media. Brave Berlin, how can folks kind of stay in touch with you guys?
So we're on Facebook right now. We have an Instagram account, Brave Berlin. We're on Facebook at Brave Berlin. We have a website, but it's really just a landing page that leads you back to Facebook. So, but mostly, you know, and then check out, there's a website, JOURNEYBOREALIS.com, and I believe that's a little bit of a tease right now, but that'll start to feature more and more as we get a little closer to the event. So check out our events there, and we're found around town, all over the place.
Great. Yeah. And so for Journey Borealis, you know, if you want to come see it and drive through to the North Pole, you can do that November 20th through January 3rd. And it's at Pyramid Hill Sculpture Park near Hamilton and Ross, Ohio. So thank you so much, Dan. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, everybody who's watching. And everybody, have a great night.
Thank you.